Welcome back to the deep dive. And today, wow, we are staring into what feels like the absolute abyss of criminal law. We're asking a question that has, it's plagued philosophers, judges, and probably anyone who's ever had a really dark thought in a moment of road rage. When does a bad thought become a crime?
It is the ultimate boundary line. It's that razor's edge between, just thinking about something or preparing, which is totally legal, and a punishable act.
Which can mean years in prison.
Exactly.
So we are tackling Model Penal Code, Section 5.01, criminal attempt. I've got the full text here, all the notes, all the comments. And my mission today is a little different. I'm not just here to nod along.
Okay.
I really want to be the inquisitor here. I want to challenge you to pin down the exact moment, when the handcuffs can come out.
Challenge accepted. This is one of the most intellectually dense parts of the MPC because it's all about potentiality. It's about things that haven't actually happened yet.
Or happened wrong.
Or happened wrong, yeah. It's about punishing the mind as much as the hand.
So give us the roadmap. How are we going to break this down?
We should follow the architecture of the statute itself. First, we have to define the three specific types of attempt under Section 5.011. Second, and this is the big one, we're going to analyze the substantial step test. That's the main tool for incomplete crimes. And then third, we'll look at the escape hatch, the affirmative defense of renunciation.
Okay, let's unpack this. So Section 5.011 defines attempt, but it splits it into these different scenarios. Let's start with the first one, completed conduct.
Right. This is where the actor thinks they've done the whole job.
Okay, so I want to give you a scenario to test this. Let's say I intend to kill my rival. I buy a gun, I sneak into his house, I aim at the figure in the bed, and I pull the trigger. Bang! I've done everything I intended to do, but unknown to me, the gun's loaded with blanks. Or maybe the rival is actually a wax dummy I mistook for a person. I've completed my conduct, but the crime itself is factually impossible. Am I off the hook?
Under the Model Penal Code, absolutely not. This falls squarely under Rule 5.011.
So what's the actual rule on the books there?
The rule says a person is guilty if they purposely engage in conduct that would constitute the crime if the attendant circumstances were as he believes them to be.
As he believes them to be. That's the key phrase, isn't it?
That's the whole ballgame. The MPC flat out rejects the old impossibility defense from common law. We don't care that the gun had blanks. We care that you believed it had bullets. Liability focuses entirely on the actor's subjective mindset, not what's happening in the real world.
So the law is, it's basically ignoring the fact that I shot a pillow.
Precisely.
And punishing me for the murder I thought I was committing.
Exactly. The theory is that you are just as dangerous as a successful murderer. You just happen to be, unlucky or incompetent. The MPC wants to neutralize that dangerousness.
Okay. So that's the impossibility scenario. Now let's move on to concept 2. Result crimes.
This is 5.011B.
So here's the question for that. I plant a bomb in a building. I set the timer for, say, 10 minutes. I walk away. Now I'm sitting in a cafe down the street. The bomb hasn't gone off yet. Nobody's dead. The result, death, hasn't happened. But I finished my part. How does the law handle that gap in time?
The rule under 5.01B catches you right there. It says a person is guilty if they do something with the purpose of causing the result, or, and this part is crucial, with the belief that it will cause the result without any more action from them.
So even if I'm not 100% certain, if I just believe that bomb's going to go off, I've attempted the crime.
Correct. If you've launched the missile, so to speak, and you believe it's going to hit the target without you doing anything else, you have committed attempt. We don't wait for the explosion.
All right, so those are the situations where I think I've done everything I planned to do. Now we get to the messy part, the gray area.
The incomplete attempts.
Exactly. Section 5.011C. This is where the actor hasn't finished the job. They get stopped by the police or interrupted. This is the hardest part of the law, right? Distinguishing mere preparation, which isn't a crime from attempt.
And this is where the MPC really revolutionized criminal law.
So what is the general rule? How do we cross that line?
The rule requires two things. First, the actor has to purposely do an act. Second, that act has to be a substantial step in a course of conduct planned to end in the crime.
Substantial step. That sounds vague. How does a court define that?
It is vague, and that's intentional, but the statute adds a critical qualifier to tighten it up. It says conduct is not a substantial step unless it is strongly corroborative of the actor's criminal purpose.
Strongly corroborative. Okay, I need to see how this works in practice. So the MPC gives this list of examples in subsection 2 that it says are substantial steps. I want to treat these like mini court cases. I'm going to give you the facts, and I want you to run a strict legal analysis on them.
Let's do it. I'm ready.
Okay, let's analyze case 1, reconnoitering. This is based on MPC 5.012C. First, what are the legally dispositive facts?
The facts would be something like this. An actor is seen repeatedly visiting a specific place, like a bank or a jewelry store. He's observed scouting, casing, reconnoitering the place. Maybe he's checking for cameras, watching the guard's schedule, mapping exits. The key thing is he hasn't drawn a weapon or tried to go inside yet.
Okay, what's the core legal issue?
The issue is whether just scouting a location is a substantial step that's enough for attempt liability, or if it's still just, unpunished preparation.
What rule of law applies? And can you please state the full rule and break it down into its testable elements for us?
The controlling rule is MPC 5.012C, and you have to combine it with that general substantial step test, so it has two distinct elements. First, the actor has to be reconnoitering the place he's planning to commit the crime. Second, that conduct must be strongly corroborative of his criminal purpose.
Thank you. Now for the court's elemental analysis. Let's walk through this step by step. How would a court apply that first element, reconnoitering?
For the first element, a court would look at the plain meaning of the word. Reconnoitering means a focused, strategic observation. It's different from just casually looking. In our facts, the actor was systematically watching the guards and the cameras, so a court would find that this specific conduct fits the statutory definition. Element 1 is met.
Understood. But now, what about the second element, corroboration? Because people watch banks for innocent reasons all the time. Maybe they're an architecture student or just waiting for a friend.
And this is the critical filter. The sub-rule is that the conduct must strongly corroborate the criminal intent. So the court looks at the context. If the guy is just standing there eating a sandwich, it's not very corroborative. But if he has a floor plan in his pocket, or he's timing the guards with a stopwatch, or comes back 3 days in a row, that context strips away the innocent explanation. It confirms the purpose to rob. So the court would find the second element is satisfied too.
And after analyzing all the elements, what's the final conclusion?
The holding is that the act is a substantial step. Under subsection 2, if those elements are met, the act cannot be held insufficient as a matter of law. A judge can't just throw it out. The question of guilt has to go to the jury.
That's a very low bar compared to the old common law.
It is. It lets the police intervene much, much earlier.
Let's test that early intervention idea.
Yeah.
Case 2, possession of materials based on MPC 5.012E and F.
Okay, possession. Let's look at it.
All right, here are the facts. 2 scenarios. Scenario A, police stop an actor near a bank. In his bag, he has professional lockpicks and a stethoscope. Scenario B, police stop an actor near a wooden building he's threatened to burn down. He's carrying a pile of oily rags and a bottle of lighter fluid.
Okay, 2 distinct fact patterns, but both about possession.
So what's the core legal issue?
The issue is whether just possessing these items, which aren't illegal by themselves, is a substantial step toward burglary or arson.
And what rule of law applies? I want the specific MPC sub-rules here.
Okay, there are 2 relevant ones. First, MPC 5.012D. This covers possession of materials that are specially designed for unlawful use. And second, MPC 5.012F, which is about possessing materials at or near the scene of the crime if that possession serves no lawful purpose under the circumstances. And both still need to be strongly corroborative.
Thank you. Now for the elemental analysis. Let's take scenario A, the lockpicks, and run it through MPC 5.012E. How does a court apply that rule?
So the court looks at the nature of the items. The key element is specially designed for unlawful use. Professional lockpicks, they have virtually no legitimate use for a regular person. So the court would reason that just possessing them is inherently strongly corroborative of an intent to burgle. The element is met almost automatically just by what the tool is.
Okay, now let's apply the elemental analysis to scenario B, the rags and lighter fluid, using MPC 5.012. Those are innocent items. Everyone has rags. How does the court handle that?
True, rags are common, but the element here is no lawful purpose under the circumstances. The court looks at the specific context. You're standing next to your rival's wooden building at 2 in the morning with flammable liquid. A court would find that there is no reasonable, lawful explanation for that collection of items at that place at that time.
So the lack of a lawful excuse becomes the evidence of the crime.
Precisely. It satisfies the strongly corroborative requirement because the context just eliminates any innocent alternative.
And the final conclusion in both of these?
In both cases, the holding is that possession is a substantial step. Liability attaches. The police can arrest the arsonist before he even strikes the match.
It's kind of terrifying how easy it is to fall into this net if your intent is bad.
That's the design of the model penal code. It punishes the will to do harm as long as you've taken that first verifiable step.
I want to make this more visceral. We've talked about burglary and arson. Let's talk about something darker. Let's look at MPC 5.012b.
Oh, the enticement clause.
Picture this. A man pulls his van up to a playground. He calls out to a child. He says, "Hey, my puppy is lost in the back of this van. Can you help me find him?" He never touches the child. He never even opens the door. He just speaks.
Yeah, that's a classic nightmare scenario.
Under the old law, has he done anything yet?
Not much, maybe. But under the MPC,
All right.
under MPC 5.012b, enticing or seeking to entice the contemplated victim to go to the place contemplated is a substantial step.
Just the words.
Yes, the moment he tries to lure that victim to the kill zone, whether it's a van or a secluded room, the attempt is complete. The law does not require us to wait until the child is inside the van. That enticement itself locks in the liability.
That's a really powerful tool for prevention.
It allows law enforcement to stop the horror movie in the first 5 minutes instead of the last 5.
I want to touch on complicity really quickly before we get to defenses.
Nice.
This is section 5.013. So what if I'm too scared to do the crime myself? I get an innocent agent, someone who doesn't know what they're doing, to go get the money for me. But they mess it up. They don't do it.
Section 5.013 closes that exact loophole. It says if you engage in conduct that's designed to aid another person to commit a crime, you are guilty of attempt. Even if the other person doesn't commit or even attempt the crime, you can't hide behind the failure of your agent.
Okay, so we've established that the net is wide. It catches the scouter, the possessor, the enticer. But is there a way out of it?
There is only one way out.
So let's analyze the defense of renunciation. This is MPC 5.014.
This is the change of heart doctrine.
Let's look at a case where the actor stops. Let's analyze the repentant bomber. First, what are the legally dispositive facts?
The facts are, an actor plants a time bomb in a stadium, he drives away, but then he starts thinking about all the innocent people. He feels this wave of guilt. He pulls over, calls the police, tells them exactly where the bomb is, and they defuse it before it explodes.
The core legal issue is pretty clear.
Right. The issue is whether the actor can claim the affirmative defense of renunciation of criminal purpose, even though he's already done enough for the attempt charge.
What rule of law applies?
Oh.
And please, bring it down into its testable elements.
The rule is MPC 5.014. It gives an affirmative defense if the actor can prove 3 distinct elements. First, there has to be an abandonment of the effort or prevention of the crime. Second, the circumstances have to show a complete renunciation. And third, they have to show a voluntary renunciation.
Thank you. Okay, elemental analysis. Let's go step by step. How would a court apply that first element, abandonment or prevention?
Well, in our facts, the actor called the police and the bomb was defused. The rule requires that if the conduct was complete, like planting the bomb, the actor has to actually prevent the result. Since the explosion was prevented, a court would find that first element is satisfied.
Okay, now let's analyze the third element, voluntary. This seems tricky. What if the actor didn't stop because of guilt? What if he stopped because he heard police sirens approaching the stadium?
Then the defense completely fails. The subrule in 5.014 defines voluntary very specifically. A renunciation is not voluntary if it's motivated by circumstances that increase the probability of getting caught. If the sirens scared him straight, a court would say it was motivated by fear, not a change of heart. That element would not be met.
Okay, let's change the facts again. No sirens. What if he stopped because he realized the stadium wasn't full enough? He wants to wait for the Super Bowl to get more casualties. Let's analyze the second element, complete.
The defense fails there too. Under 5.014, a renunciation is not complete if it's motivated by a decision to postpone the act to a better time or to transfer the effort to a different victim. A court would rule that that's just a strategic delay, not a true renunciation of his criminal purpose, so that element is not met either.
So for the defense to hold in our original scenario where he called out of guilt,
It has to be genuine. The court has to find that his motivation was a sincere turning away from the criminal goal, totally unprompted by external fears or strategic thinking.
and the final conclusion.
If the jury believes his motivation was pure guilt, then the holding would be that the defense applies. He'd be off the hook for the attempted murder, though he might still be liable for lesser crimes, like possessing explosives.
And this is an affirmative defense, right?
Yes, which means the burden of proof is on the defendant to prove it by a preponderance of the evidence.
Wow. We have covered a massive amount of ground here. We've gone from shooting dummies to luring victims to defusing bombs. I want to synthesize all this.
Let's bring it all together.
For the listener who needs to apply this, maybe on an exam or just to understand the news, give us the checklist. How do you spot an MPC attempt?
Absolutely. Okay, here's your diagnostic checklist. Think of it as a 4-step process.
Step 1.
Check mens rea. Does the actor have purpose? And remember, for result crimes, just a belief that the result will happen is enough, but you need that specific intent. Identify the act type. Is the conduct complete or incomplete? If they think they finished but failed, like with the dummy, liability attaches right away through their belief. If it's incomplete, you move to step 3.
Step 3.
Apply the substantial step test. Ask 2 questions here. Is the conduct strongly corroborative of the criminal purpose? And does it fit that list of 7 in subsection 2? Scouting, enticing, possessing materials, lying in wait. If it fits, it's a substantial step.
And the final step, step 4.
Check for defenses. Did they renounce? Was it voluntary, meaning no fear of police? And was it complete, meaning no postponement? If they can clear all those hurdles, they might have a defense.
It really is a system designed to catch the mind at work, isn't it?
That's the perfect way to put it.
And that brings me to my final thought for you, the listener. The model penal code is so unique because it's aggressively subjective. You know, in the old days, the law looked at what you did. Did you pull the trigger? Did you break the door? But the MPC looks at what you thought. It punishes you for shooting a dummy if you thought it was a person. It punishes you for holding a rag if it corroborates your dark purpose.
It shifts the trial from the crime scene right into the defendant's brain.
Exactly. The law is no longer just watching your hands. It's looking inside your head. And that is a fascinating and maybe a little terrifying place to be. Thanks for taking this deep dive with us.
My pleasure.
See you next time.